Hey friends, we're so glad you're here and have tuned into So, What Makes You Come Alive podcast. We're your hosts, Gabe the Girl
and Michaela McGee, and we're here to explore what it would look like to take ownership of and change the narratives of our lives to live a life fully alive.
Hey everybody, welcome back to So, What Makes You Come Alive podcast. I'm Gabe the Girl, and I'm here with Michaela McGee, the Michaela McGee. We are here for a special episode of the month. Every month, after a few episodes, we're interviewing our special guests and having really crazy, amazing, special, inspirational conversations with you guys. We're going to touch on a topic of question, a topic of inspiration, a topic of challenge. We've kind of gathered a bit to talk on over the coming months, and we're really excited to kind of, right here in the moment, raw and right before you, talk through some in challenges, I guess you could say, or difficulties to approach, or some things that, we would be working through in our minds to figure out how to live a life more fully alive. So today on the docket, we have a little bit of a conversation we're going to have around Sigmund Freud and Viktor Frankl. And Sigmund Freud, back in the day, his belief was that human beings and human behavior were motivated by pleasure, by seeking pleasure, and by investing their time for pleasure. And Viktor Frankl, which many of you might know from writing Man's Search for Meaning, disagreed with Sigmund Freud. And he said, no, I don't think that man is out in search of just pleasure, and that's why he does or she does or they do what they do. I think it's about meaning, it's about purpose. So we want to kind of talk about this topic a little bit. Michaela, you want to kind of get us started on some initial thoughts?
Yeah, totally. So when I first read that, I was like, you know what, I'm not totally sure that I agree that with Frankl on this one, because there's a big part of me that is like, we need to find what makes us happy and do more of that. So then the question becomes, is pleasure a superficial thing, or is this something that we can dig into and find the root cause? Because I don't necessarily think that it's superficial stuff that can really like drive human behavior forever and ever. I mean, it can like cause us to do things in the moment, but like long term, what is it that's really actually driving us? Is it simply pleasure? Is it just feeling good in the moment? Or is it like, what is it that's driving that pleasure? Is it to find joy, or to find love, or to find peace? And it's like the pleasure might just be like the tip of the iceberg. And so what if we really dug into that pleasure? And I like, ultimately we might find that man is searching for meaning, and that is the biggest drive. But I don't know. Yeah, I just think that it's like kind of a bold thing to say that Frankl completely disagreed with Freud on this, because I'm like, well, I don't know, like there could be a little bit of like oomph in pleasure. It doesn't necessarily, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. I just recently, which I've been meaning to for a very long time, just recently started listening to Man's Search for Meaning. And I haven't done a lot of reading on Sigmund Freud. Like that's something that back in my university studies and my primary school studies, like something that we did talk about, like psychology class and all that kind of stuff. But I think that there's definitely a connection between the two, and that pleasure is important. I think that like there are things on this earth that are meant to be enjoyed. And one of the biggest things for me on this earth is like relationships. Like, I noticed, back in the day when Michaela and I were living and working in Spain together in 2016, then I am like bar none, like just always motivated by relationship. And I find pleasure in doing my work when it is motivated by relationship. And I desire for my work to be pleasurable. And I know that we can't always find that, in all contexts and in all scenarios and all seasons of our lives. But it was really important for me to learn that I found that whatever I do, whatever I pursue, a career or, like pouring myself into something that I'm doing day to day, that I would find pleasure in it. But it's honestly, as I dig deeper and I think on that, I'm like, okay, yeah, I find pleasure in the relationships because those relationships bring meaning to what I'm doing. So I totally get what Frankel is saying here about like, no, like they're not just motivated by pleasure, because I mean, yeah, I could eat, a pint of ice cream every day and find much pleasure in that,
Totally.
but eventually it might have a negative effect on me. And, I think that it can at some point become dangerous for ourselves, for us mentally, emotionally, physically, even like relationally, spiritually. Like it can become dangerous if we're only going after things in life for the pleasure of it, and we're losing to like lose the where that foundation comes from. Like, why am I finding pleasure in this? Or like if I'm like I guess like abusing that pleasure, which would be eating a pint of ice cream every day, could therein look like an abuse of seeking pleasure, because in the end, like, I'm just not gonna feel great.
Right. Well, I think it's even like it's how we're choosing to have that pleasure affect us,
Yeah.
like I think about how much pleasure I know you get from going to a coffee shop and having a good cup of coffee. I mean, I get like some pleasure from having a good cup of tea, but not nearly the same level of excitement that you have.
Yeah.
But would you say that like being in that setting and having a good cup of coffee is something that makes you come alive?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it's not just the
Certainly.
pleasure.
Yeah. It's not. And yet it's funny because I don't know if I'm just some weird, part of the human species that's always kind of looking for my deeper core motivation for things. But I do spend a lot of time like analyzing, even in the moment, of like, okay, why am I doing what I'm doing? And is this beneficial? Is this healthy for me? Is it, bringing joy, bringing happiness, like feeding a need for my body, spirit, mind, soul, like, and when I dig deep into that, like fully alive moment of sitting down with a cup of coffee, I can sit with the reminder that like my family roots go back to Honduras, where my mother, spent her childhood years, and most of my aunts and uncles spent, a good chunk of their lives, and my abuelos were there, and my grandfather had coffee farms, and I didn't have a very close relationship with them because, distance and not being able to see them very often, but also I didn't speak Spanish, so it was something, like I mean, now I'm conversational. But it is something that I can, people are like, oh, you're so crazy about coffee. I'm like, yes, I love the coffee science. I love sitting down in cafes, and it's very relational. It's a comforting thing. It is pleasure, but it's also deeply rooted in purpose, or like meaning. It has meaning to me beyond sitting there with a cup of coffee.
Right.
That makes me feel good.
Totally.
But that's not,
I think that's
like
not
discounting it at all.
No, it's not at all. And it can be simply the fact that you're sitting down in a coffee shop with a good cup of coffee that really does, like, even that can bring meaning to people, because it's a reminder to slow down and enjoy this moment right here, right now. But that is my argument in this situation, that like I do think that pleasure can still be a motivator for human behavior if we are pausing to recognize like what is the root of that pleasure, like what's driving that pleasure. Like pleasure can kind of guide us, but it's the real drive below that, like you were saying, was the meaning
Mhm.
behind that coffee. It
Mhm.
ties into your ancestral roots. It's the space of the coffee shop where you get to connect with people. Another one of your
Mhm.
biggest values. Like
Mhm.
I, I mean, I wish that I could eat a
Yeah.
pint of ice cream a day. I just think that at the end of the day, like I would feel pretty freaking crappy if I did that every
Mhm.
single day. So I'm not
Mhm.
gonna, but
Mhm.
it's this the pause of like what is really causing me to want to have or like to desire the ice cream every
Mhm.
single day, you know? Is
Yeah.
it the
Yeah.
immediate pleasure? It's certainly
Mhm.
not how I'm going to feel like 5 hours from now, you know? Like that's not my
Yeah.
drive.
Uh-huh.
And I think maybe like you, like I am more of a like a big picture kind of thinker.
Mhm.
So in every situation, as much as I can, as long as it's not
Mhm.
like an emergency situation where I have to react immediately. Like in most situations, I do like to kind of pause and think about, all right, what what am I motivated by here? How am I
Yeah.
going to feel about this
Yeah.
tomorrow, 5 years from now, whatever? Like, is it really worth my time to do this action, to do whatever it
Mhm.
might be? And maybe not everybody is like that, but maybe
Yeah.
this could also just be an invitation to like, what if we did pause, and ask
Yeah.
ourselves like, why is it that we really want this? and
Mhm.
and what is the deeper thing that we're really looking for? Because
Yeah.
I just don't think that at the end of the day, ice cream is really truly what we're looking for, even though so many things about that sound incredible. And right after this,
Mm.
I'm gonna need to go have some ice cream, and I'm okay with
Oh
that.
yeah.
But
No, you're literally kind of like tapping into reading my brain, and it's leading me to the, I guess, the idea or the challenge that, like, okay, so like if we are in a position where we're going after those things that are pleasurable, or those things that we enjoy, but we're still not feeling alive, and we're still not, it's not filling our cup, then that's the cause for pause, right? I think we talked about
mm-hmm.
this in a previous episode, but the cause for pause, or it might be a future episode, we'll see. Depending. Woo! Cause for pause is that, like, yeah, take a moment to assess, like, okay, I'm giving my time, I'm giving my energy to these things that are pleasurable, that I do enjoy, but why is it that it's not lasting, or why is it that I like am not feeling fully alive? um and maybe that's, yeah, that cause for pause will enlighten us to make an adjustment.
Yeah.
um
And to seek out what really can make us feel fully alive. Because at the
mhm,
end of the day, we all get to live a life that is fully lit up. We choose that for
yeah,
ourselves. And so,
mhm,
are we going to be guided by superficial things that, like, maybe it's like having a dim little, I don't know, table lamp or something versus having a gigantic
mhm,
LED or fire or whatever blazing? Like, it might it might bring you some joy. It might make you feel a little bit alive in that moment.
mhm,
But there is a big difference between those like little blips of lit upness or fully aliveness versus
mhm,
an actual, like, not even every moment of every day, but like an overarching, like,
mhm.
yes, my day was
Yeah,
definitely defined by feeling fully alive, even if there
yeah,
were moments of not.
yeah. Even if I was exhausted, like I
Yeah.
had I had this moment where I took the time to, you know, sit with this, or
Mm.
invest my time in that. Call this family member, call this friend,
Mm.
and, or, whatever it may be. Take the long drive home because
Yeah.
I got to see more nature, or connect with special places in my city or my town that
Mm.
are special to me. Um, oh, I had a thought. Come back, thought.
So I'm watching her. She's looking for it,
I'm
fishing for it.
looking around my living room, like, where'd it go?
Where did it go?
Oh my goodness. This is the real thing, y'all.
Yeah. This is podcast
I
real life.
did, and it was a good thought.
I bet it was.
It was a good
It'll
thought.
come back. Those good ones
Okay.
always come back.
Yeah.
Well, I think that there's a lot of power in like recognizing that it's even the little things. Like we've talked about that before. Joy and finding things that light you up can be however big or small you want them
Yeah.
to be. If your
Yeah.
thought come back,
My thought came back.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. No, I was gonna say rhythms. Like when you're talking about, living the day to day and feeling fully alive, and like even a moment of feeling alive, like rhythms are so important to human beings. Seasons are so important. We need them. And so when I think about, okay, what does it look like? I kind of want to like take it day by day. What does it look like today to have, something in my schedule, or, in what I'm doing today? What's going to make me feel fully alive? Like, where am I going to find meaning? And do something that I enjoy or I find pleasure in. Yeah, I think about like, okay, like that's where that, pausing to reflect and looking into what things really make you feel alive. Even for me, it's like putting something on the calendar to look forward to.
Yeah.
It's like that in my week gives me hope. And when I think on that plan that I have to go hike or get dinner with somebody, or, whatever it is, it's like, okay, like
Totally. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, no, I think that that's very true. And so, I mean, I'm an entrepreneur and I literally get to design my entire life. Every single day is
Mhm.
completely by design. But what you were just saying, I think that we all have so much more power than we realize to be
Yeah.
able to actually live a life that is by design. Yes, you still have to
Mhm.
go to work. Yes, you still have to grocery shop. Yes, you still have to whatever, take your dogs for a walk or take care of your kids or whatever. Like
Yeah.
your life still has those things. However, you can find joy. You can find little things to put into your calendar that will
Mhm.
bring that that fullness into your life. Like
Yeah.
even in the midst of the mundane day to day, commuting to work,
Mhm.
whatever, all the things that like most people have to do these things just as part of life. But where is it that you can find joy in the midst of that? Or where can you
Mhm.
insert joy in the midst of
Yeah.
that to really like kind of upgrade your life? Like take it to
Yeah.
that next
Totally.
level of like fully alive, fully lit up.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had an Instagram post go out the other day. Um, Michaela can tell us a little bit about that, since she was the one who shared it on our account.
Sure did. I'm the social media manager this week. Just kidding. Shared duties, thankfully. So I was talking about do basically do what makes you happy. Like find what makes you
Mhm.
happy and go do more of that. And
Mhm.
so that kind in the midst of this topic of like man's will or man's search for meaning versus being motivated by pleasure, like I think that there is a pretty big difference between pleasure and happiness, but some people might see that as like it's still superficially might look the same. But
Mhm.
the biggest difference in my opinion is the root cause. Like you
Mhm.
find what makes you happy and it's bringing you joy, it's bringing you peace. Like it's not just this like oh haha, like I can go watch a
Mhm.
TV show and that makes me laugh, but is it making me happy? Is it like really actually bringing me joy? Is it just pleasure in the moment? I mean, there's something amazing about just watching a TV show and like
Mhm.
laughing, even to the point of
Mhm.
tears or something that is it's really nice, but that finding what makes you happy to me is like I don't know, I guess I still have this image of the iceberg. Like that's like
Mm-hmm.
another level below
Mm-hmm.
pleasure, you know?
Yeah.
Like it might express in the same way. Other people might see it as the same, that, you know, on the outside, but what's happening on the inside is radically different,
Yeah,
you
definitely.
know?
I think when you approach the idea of like find what you enjoy and go do more of that, find what you love and go do more of that, um it can sound kind of superficial and surfacey. Um, but when you look at it from the point of like, okay, like, well, like, why do I enjoy doing this? Or why do I love
Mhm.
doing this? Um, I know that like my my enjoyment of rock climbing was mainly because I got to be one, out in nature, which makes me feel fully alive, and two,
Mhm.
connected with really amazing people, relationship,
Yeah.
hello. And then
Yeah.
of course, like climbing, you're like challenging yourself, and I love a good challenge. And when you're hanging off the side of a mountain and could fall at any moment to the next
Dear
clip,
Lord. No,
that
thank you.
definitely makes you feel fully alive.
Yeah, huh? My heart still works. Great, cool.
My heart still works. I'm still here. But yeah, I think it's not just about going and doing, not it's not just about going and eating pints of ice cream because you love pints of ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what we're saying here. Please, if you're eating pints of ice cream every day, we'll find a phone number for you to connect with somebody.
Sweet
Because
pint
we
of ice
care
cream
about
hotline.
you and we love you and we desire for you to be a healthy human being.
Mm-hmm. Well-rounded,
But
healthy. Yeah.
well-rounded and healthy. Um, but yeah, like I think it's important to look at the things that we enjoy and ask ourselves questions about the things that we enjoy and what we want to give our time and attention to, and if it's bringing our life meaning. For sure. I
Yeah.
mean,
I feel like that is a huge part of the essence of living a life that is fully alive. Like that is coming alive, is
mhm,
finding the meaning behind what brings you joy. So
yeah,
I in honor of respecting everybody's time, I'm
yeah,
gonna wrap this up because I feel like this could be a multi-part topic
mhm,
that we
yeah,
cover. And we likely will come back to this multiple times because I think that this question of like, what is it to live a life that is fully alive, is that's what we get to talk about with our
yeah,
guests, every few weeks. And it's what you and I like to talk about. It's what we want to talk to you guys, our audience, about too.
mhm,
So if there is a topic around living a life that is fully alive, please send us a message on Instagram, or you can email us at thrivefullyalive@gmail.com. Our Instagram handle is at thrivefullyalive. And we would definitely love to hear from you guys. Like any questions that you have from these topic conversations, anything that's coming up for you that you would like us to dive deeper into, or anything like that. It gives us so much more connection with you guys, which we both love in a lot of ways. And it gives us, good stuff to talk about, because it's like Gabe and I love talking about these things, but to be able to make it actually truly meaningful for you guys is like, this is why we're here. So
mhm.
definitely connect with us and let us know if there's any specific topic that you guys want us to cover. And we will see you next week with another interview. And yeah, have a great week, you guys. We'll see you guys soon.
Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to So What Makes You Come Alive. We're so inspired by the conversations we get to have with everyday humans about what lights them up and how to love the story they're living. We hope that you feel just as inspired too.
Interested in getting in on the inspiration? Click the link in our Instagram bio at Thrive Fully Alive and select the option for The One About You. Be our guest. Remember to tune in each week for a new episode where we explore what it looks like to get back to living our best story, where we hope that your favorite story becomes your own.